So yesterday was day 6, and it was really kind of an interesting day. I didn't really notice too much in terms of improvement in the clarity thing. I did notice some at points, but it wasn't really any better that I could tell than the best that it had already been on a previous day. I wasn't even really sure if, that we always can tend to have these doubts. And I think it's really natural if we ever see a graph of improvement. It never really looks like one straight line going like that. You always see these little dips and little valleys, so there's obviously points where it kind of wasn't as good. It's not like it just, the people in whatever the situation was, it's not like they just realized a continuous steady upgrade. There was always these moments, if you look closely, where it dips, but we tend to not really think too much about that because at a distance we look at the overall thing going like that. I try to keep it in mind, but still, when I'm experiencing one of those little down little bloops, it kind of can make me wonder at times, as I think it does most anyone, if this is really working after all, or if, like what's happening here or whatever. If I caught myself going there in my mind, I would tend to stop it right there and just not let myself go down that road. Because I have heard of people who have corrected their vision using law of attraction. They would just picture and imagine seeing clearly again, and if they stayed consistent with it, it has happened where they've corrected their vision. I haven't been able to hold a clear image, and that is one thing I have learned from this teacher, is that a lot of times when our vision starts to get blurrier, our visualization capabilities can also start to diminish. I used to have much sharper visualization capabilities years and years and years ago, but my vision was also crystal clear years and years and years ago. And I've noticed that both have sort of kind of waned a little bit together. So when she told me that they can be interrelated and that usually people do notice a lack of ability or a declining ability to visualize as their vision gets worse, this made complete sense to me. She also said that memory can go as well. Memory and vision tend to go hand in hand, she says. And if you can get your vision turned back around, you can also get your memory turned back around as well. So when I caught myself going into these doubtful states, I nipped it right there. If you know anything about law of attraction at all, like really any in-depth understanding, not the glossed over version of if you sit around and visualize it and picture it, it can come to be. That's the very basis of understanding, but it does not normally work quite so easily for most people. Most people really do have to clean up their fundamental way of thinking in order to get it to work. And so I have learned, because of really diving into my studies of how things work and how to just make my life better in general so that I can be happier in my experience, I have come to learn that if we say things like, oh, I don't believe it, like if something good happens, and a lot of people will do that, they'll try to manifest something, and then when it happens, they're like, oh wow, I can't believe it, and then what? It goes away. So don't do that. We don't ever want to do that. So I was also careful not to let my thoughts go into too much of a, oh no, I hope this isn't blah, 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 because that also can be enough to undo stuff. So I would catch myself whenever I would start to think, well, maybe this isn't, whatever, and remind myself that after all, when I first started. So one thing that really did happen yesterday was I was super tired. It was really weird. I normally don't get very, very tired like that in the middle of the day, unless usually I'm really sick or maybe really couldn't sleep the night before. Neither one of those was pertaining to me as of yesterday, and so I went to lie down. I was really that tired. I went to lie down. I fell asleep, and then some really interesting experiences happened, and I filmed myself doing it. Mind you, I do not look attractive. I do not have makeup on. I was tired. I was in bed. I was holding my iPad over me just so that I could capture in dialogue, verbally, what actually happened, because I didn't know if I would really remember it. And so that's this footage now. It's only partway through the day. I don't normally feel tired enough to take a nap during the day, but I did today, probably in the 2 o'clock hour. Anyway, I just woke up, and it's just kind of weird. I woke up feeling like maybe I'd been somewhere else, but I don't know why. I have no visual memory of a dream. I don't know if I had one or not.
But I had some weird memories of some stuff with my mom where she was always very hard. I always felt like walking on eggshells. It was really easy to make her mad. Didn't take much. Anyway, I just sort of had these memories as I was sort of coming back up to being awake of her just being like, look, look, and then like yelling at me for not seeing things and not really looking, that kind of thing, and her just being really mad, which was, I had that a lot.
So I talked about this briefly when we got together in the group, and I did mention that I really didn't think that this was a coincidence. I hardly ever have dreams anymore. I used to have a lot of dreams when I was younger. A lot of them were premonition type dreams that would come true. And I have had some of that on and off through the years and in visions and meditations, but I actually don't have dreams a lot of the time. So I thought that it was really interesting, and I really did not think that it was a coincidence. I mentioned that to the teacher, and she said it was definitely not a coincidence. And she said that usually people that dive into their vision work more deeply can sometimes have experiences like that. She said it's not critical to getting vision clarity back, but that it's not unusual. It was just unusual for me at such a new level into it within that work for that to happen. And when I was working with the man before who was helping me with my vision, I never had anything like that happen. So I thought that that was just very, very interesting. And I didn't really notice a lot of visual clarities really the rest of yesterday, but I didn't really worry too much about it. And the other days when I would notice the little clarities at first, especially when it first started happening, it was really a little bit in the early part of the day, and then it wasn't there like for the rest of the day. So but still I took this as a good sign, especially after what we were told in the first meeting, which I talk about in that previous video if you want to check that out. And I just kind of kept my mind there. I kept my mind in a really positive space about like, hey, it's happening, like I'm getting those glimpses, and that's a good sign. And that's really where I left it. No questions, no ifs, ands, or buts. And if my mind started to tread in those waters, I quickly caught it and stopped it right there. And by the way, if you are someone who ventures into law of attraction experiments but haven't had a lot of good luck yet, you really need to start being that way in order to realize the changes that you want. It took me a long time to figure that out. And so yeah, I learned a lot there and what not to do. And complaining and doubts are two things that will wreck your realizations of things the way you want them to be. Let's just say that on really any type of subject, including physical type of subjects. All right. So yeah, that was day 6. A little bit interesting, a little bit strange, a little bit odd. And I guess we will see what happens tomorrow. So stay tuned, come back, give it a thumbs up if you think that this is interesting. Make comments below if you would like to say anything. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How's your vision? Is there any improvement you'd like to have? Do you think that maybe you could benefit from something like this? I actually think you could. I think anybody could. Alright, anyway, so I will be back with another video. This one obviously was a little longer than some of the others, but I guess there was a little bit more things to share. Well, just different. Alright, anyway, see you soon. Bye!